Welcome to the Ask Dr. Deanna show. I'm Dr. Deanna Osborne, your host. Join me weekly as I cover various health-related lifestyle medicine topics that you get to request. This show is for anyone who wants to proactively improve their health position. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Dr. Deanna podcast. I'm excited to be with you again today. Hopefully you had a chance to listen to last week's podcast when we had my dear friend and publisher, Eunice Ray, on to talk about a little bit about her health journey as a 75-year-old who has it down and, is, really an incredible image of health. Absolutely. And so go back and listen to that if you didn't get a chance to. Today, we're going to talk about some fasting hacks. Here we are, it's Christmas. It's the end of the year, it's Christmas. Everybody is kind of doing their thing and probably partaking in a lot of extra stuff that they should not be eating. Basically, in a week or so, we're going to celebrate New Year's. And then from there, everybody is full on headed to the gym, doing all of the things, right, to try to get into, shape, if you will, as a New Year's resolution or whatever. And so I thought today it'd be good to just talk about some of the fasting hacks that I've employed and some of the tips that I will give patients that can make a difference and help them kind of get through, how to implement intermittent fasting, especially if you're new to intermittent fasting and don't really know, what to do there and so forth. So, the basic concept of intermittent fasting is we always start with a 12-hour fast at night. And I always say, anybody and everybody can fast 12 hours at night. Okay. There's no medical condition that precludes you from fasting 12 hours at night. Now, if you are a diabetic and you are insulin dependent and you are taking insulin and, you sometimes have sugar lows, this is different. Okay. You may have to, eat something during the night if your sugar drops low. Obviously, you're going to have to bring it back up, which is a sure sign that you're getting too much insulin and that you need to maybe work with your doc, consider pulling that back. But for the rest of us, okay, who are not in that insulin-dependent diabetic category, it is fine to fast 12 hours at night. It is healthy. It is really what we should be doing. I'm sure that if you go to your doc and you ask them, hey, is it okay if I don't eat anything after dinner? I eat my dinner at 7 p.m. and I don't eat anything after, and I don't eat until 7 a.m. They're going to look at you like, well, of course, it's perfectly fine. That would be great. But the reality is most people have shortened that window and they're not going that long. They're basically eating right before bed, and then they get up in the morning and they grab something right away, some form of calories. And so when I say that 12 hours, it is hardcore 12 hours, no calories. Okay. So you got to time it. If you like creamer in your coffee, then you need to think about that. What time do I need to cut my eating window off in the evening so that I can, have this at such and such time in the morning? I know how those coffee drinkers are. So to start with the fasting. And so then once you get the 12 hours down, then we like to move people to 14 hours. Try that out. See how you do. After that, if you want to go 16, that's the schedule that I'm usually on. I typically will fast 16 to 18 hours most days. And that just works really, really well for me. That's not for everybody, though. That would be more for the over 50 crowd. Depending on, I always say it's not one size fits all. It's never one size fits all, not in medicine, not in fasting. And so, you may need to fine tune, tweak, see how you do that sort of thing. But here's what I do know when I talk about these fasting hacks. Number one, mindset matters. Mindset matters in a very big way because, it matters what you say when you talk to yourself. And sometimes when people are fasting, and let's say that, for me, it could be 10 o'clock in the morning and maybe I'm doing a 16-hour fast that day, which means I'll break my fast at 11:30. So, I'm 14 and a half hours into my fasting window and maybe I'm feeling a little hungry, right? But it's not time for me to eat yet. It's not time for me to break my fast. And so my stomach might growl or whatever. And so there's a story that I tell myself right then and there. And the story is, Deanna, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. You're fat burning right now. Your body is amazing and it will find some fat to break down and turn into fuel to fuel you for the next hour and a half until your eating window begins. So relax. This is going to go away. And it does. It absolutely does. So mindset matters. What you tell yourself makes a difference. And so if you understand, part of that's education too. If you understand that there is a process, a built-in mechanism in your body, this is again, of course, assuming that you've got some extra fat somewhere on your body. And basically, there's this process by which your body will break down fat to fuel itself, and that's what happens as you're in that fat burning zone. That's why we say the 12-hour fast. What's key about that is that it takes about 12 hours to burn through the sugar that's in your system. So after 12, you are technically entering into a fat burning phase at that point. So that's important. What you say when you talk to yourself, and that will help push through and help get you there. The other thing is another fat hack. Fasting hack, sorry, another fasting hack is to increase fat in your diet, especially in the beginning. And when I say increase fat, I mean healthy fat. Okay. I'm not talking about, the processed horrible fats that you see out there. Okay. I'm talking about healthy fats. What are healthy fats? Healthy fats are things like salmon, okay, is a healthy fat. It's got great, omega-3 essential fatty acids in it. Half an avocado, a fourth of a cup of pecans. Those would be some options for healthy fat. Some people will make fat bombs when they first start fasting. A fat bomb is basically, might have a little bit of almond butter in it because almonds, of course, have a higher amount of fat. But basically, especially in the beginning, when you are learning to fast, you might find that you need to incorporate a little bit of extra fat because it will help you to feel full and to feel full and satisfied and to be able to go a little longer. The other thing that I like to tell people is when you are trying to redirect your mind, this should probably go up with the whole mindset part, but a lot of times increasing activity when you're fasting, get busy, do something so that you're not just thinking about food, food, food. I can't wait to break this, fast so that I can eat. When you break your fast, you shouldn't be at that point. All right. So getting active, get up and do something, whether it's take a walk, doing some work, doing something, especially with your hands, is really key. And that will help make a difference and fuel you through that time period. Another fasting hack that I like to use is increasing, water, just drinks. Okay. So I might, have, plain water. I might have water with lemon in it. For some reason, that feels like I'm having, something. If I did happen to be hungry, I might do just some type of tea that does not. I like green tea. I will drink a tea that does not have any calories in it. Doesn't, it's not sweetened or anything like that. It's just plain tea. So sometimes just increasing your water intake while you're fasting. Don't overdo it. Don't drink a gallon all at once. That's never healthy. Okay. So I'm talking about consistency, gradual consistency, hydrating throughout the day. Okay. So gentle hydration, that's what I'm talking about, will make a difference. And then another fasting hack that I found to be beneficial is, I guess I call it carb cycling or carb rationing, whatever you want to call it there. But basically, when I am fasting and I'm trying to keep my carbohydrate consumption to a minimum during the day. Generally, I'm at the weight that I want to be at or at my goal weight. And so I try to stay on a maintenance plan that's about 50 grams of carbs per day. That's very, very easy for me to do. I've had people ask, how on earth do you do 50 grams in a day? And it's actually easy. I can even drop, lower than that. And certainly my patients who are dealing with a metabolic syndrome, they're dealing with polycystic ovarian syndrome, type 2 diabetes, significant insulin resistance, I will have them drop to 20 grams a day as we are trying to reverse that disease. Okay. But for people who are at goal weight, typically it's going to be about 50 grams a day. The standard American diet, if you were to, take a look at that and what most people are eating, many people are consuming upwards of 100, even up to 150 grams of carbohydrates per meal. And if you go back and listen to last week's podcast, one of the things that Eunice Ray said on there are no essential carbs. And you guys have heard me say this before too. We have essential amino acids, which would be protein, essential proteins that we have to get in our diet. We have essential fats. My body can't make them. I have to eat them. That's the only way I get them in my body for fuel. But there are no essential carbs. And if you're eating vegetables, you're getting, there are carbs in vegetables. Okay. It's fibrous carbs that pass through, but there are some carbohydrates there. And so when you look at that 50 grams, it's not uncommon for me to, when I break my fast, I typically will do a very healthy, low carb protein shake that has essentially no carbs. It's maybe got 1 gram, one net carb gram in it, meaning once you take the fiber out, you've got basically 1 carb that you're left with. There's no sugar in it as well. It is, plant-based 20, 24 grams of protein. And that's typically what I break my fast with. Depending, I may also add a little extra fat to that. Most days I will add a little extra fat, and I typically will do that by eating maybe 1/4 cup of pecans, for example. Those are a healthy source of good fat. They also are no carb. So I just broke my fast. I ended up having, let's say, around 350 calories when I broke my fast, okay? Because if I do 1/4 cup of pecans, it's about 210 calories plus my protein shake. So I'm at about 350 plus calories right there. But I haven't had any carbs. I mean, I'm still at maybe 1 carb. Now, as I move through my day, all right, and I go into, I typically don't snack a lot, but as I go into an evening meal or my one bigger meal, that bigger meal could be a piece of salmon, half a plate of vegetables. Okay. I don't even need to count the carbs at this point because that half a plate of vegetables, I've basically, maybe for me, that would be roasted broccoli, cauliflower, some mushrooms, some onions, avocado oil on it, put it in the, salt, pepper, whatever, put it in the oven, roast it. And again, I've got healthy fat. I've got carbs in my vegetables, but most of that carb is still going to be fibrous carb, but I'm very nutrient dense. So we're looking at whole food, a whole food diet that is clean, that is nutrient dense, because that is the way to fuel your body. So that was a super low carb day for me. You can see with that, if I added it up, that's probably a 20 gram kind of day. But I've given myself more of a cushion because I'm at goal weight. And so I can go up as high as 50. And what that means is, I might have a little bit of sweet potato in with that salmon and those vegetables, or switch it up like that. So there are things that you can do once you start looking at labels and trying to identify the carbohydrates, and you make this tweak, you'll see you get plenty to eat. Okay. So my eating window is about an 8-hour eating window, anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. I don't count calories during that eating window. I am mindful of carb content during that time because that's the important thing. So let's kind of break that down and kind of give you some ideas of where those super high levels of carbs are. The person who grabs a muffin, okay, you're on your way to work, you grab a muffin and a Starbucks coffee. Well, you are probably 75, you could be as high as 100 grams of carbohydrates just with that. And you might not even feel like you ate much of anything. So that would be overboard. Okay. So the bagel and, a Starbucks drink that's loaded with, all of the sugary, syrupy stuff or whatever, again, you're going to be way over on that. So there are healthy options. I always tell my patients, I don't want to just take things away. If you are addicted to pop, okay, I have to find a replacement, okay, because you are used to drinking that stuff all day long. And that is high fructose corn syrup. That you're drinking all day long. It is absolutely causing fatty liver. Your liver cannot metabolize high fructose corn syrup. Look it up. That's why it is not allowed in many, many countries. But you can't metabolize it, and so what happens is you end up storing as fat because of that. So what we want to do is identify those things and say, okay, here's a healthy energy drink option in place of that. I'm not talking about, your Monster Red Bull, all that, because those are loaded with sugar too. But there are plenty of options that are healthy. I like a plain, if I were going to Starbucks, I would get an iced, green tea with absolutely nothing in it. And it's got a little minty flavor. There's a little natural sweetness to that tea, and there are no calories. So that would be a good option. But basically just transferring, okay, to something else in place of it. If I've got a patient who, they are a snacker and they love eating chips, for example, well, then I'm going to talk to them about some roasted vegetables that are sort of like a chip and how to get it like that so that you can snack on that, with your dinner and then go back into that fasting window. So these are just some of my tricks, okay, my tips. Another big tip is when you head to that Christmas party, New Year's party, make sure that you have some protein before you go. A protein shake, a bite of protein, whatever it is, however you get your protein, but have some protein so that you do not show up at the party absolutely starving and then eat a bunch of stuff that you should not be eating. So I hope that this has been helpful. Plug in next week. We will start our new year, January 1st. Our next podcast episode will land January 1st. And we're going to be focusing on Happy New You for the new year. So Happy New You, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And thanks so much for joining, and thanks for listening throughout this year. It's been an incredible year for our podcast, and very, very much appreciate all of our listeners. So have a fantastic Christmas and a wonderful new year. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that episode. For more information, visit me at deannaosborne.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Deanna Osborne. I really want to hear from you, so message me. I love taking your messages and creating topics from them. Please rate, review, subscribe, and share my show with those who have an interest in health and wellness. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next week.